The purpose of this lecture is to explain you the psychrometric process of adiabatic humidification. The same was explained with the help of the device called air washer, where you create sprays of water and air passes over that. Now, if this water is simply recirculated, it is neither cooled nor created, then the water temperature reaches the wet bulb temperature, and if there is 100% effectiveness of the process, then the air would also reach the wet bulb temperature. In short, in this process, the humidification will be done adiabatically, or the process will move along the constant wet bulb temperature line, as it is shown in this on this psychrometric chart. Point A or point 1 could be the initial point, and it is passed over water sprays. Some part of water is evaporated and the temperature of the air goes down, but in this process the humidity content of the air increases because there is some evaporation of water into air. Now, in this process, if there is no heat which is added into the system, or it neither is removed from the system, then the process would be an adiabatic humidification process. As it is shown, it moves on a constant wet bulb temperature line. Now, if the exposure of air to water is perfect, that is, the contact factor or effectiveness is 100%, in that case, air would come out at point X, which is the wet bulb temperature corresponding to the entry point A. But no process can be 100% effective, and because of that, finally, the air comes out at some intermediate temperature shown as theta B here, or we normally use the notation T, temperature, dry bulb temperature. So as it is seen in this process AB, temperature or dry bulb temperature decreases, wet bulb temperature remains the same, or the process moves along a constant wet bulb temperature line. And the humidity ratio shown as G here, or we normally use W, the humidity ratio increases. The reason why we are interested in this type of process, that is adiabatic humidification, is that it can be used as evaporative cooling process. What we mean by evaporative cooling is normally we use water and water evaporates into air, and this reduces the temperature of the air, and this process can be used for human comfort and some other applications also. Of course, the other method to provide human comfort with the help of the mechanical compression system also exists. Then, what are the benefits of this process? The benefit of this process is that the power consumption in this process is low as compared to the mechanical compression based air conditioning process. The reason is that there is no compressor used here, and there is only a fan and a pump required, and the cost of equipment is also less. Such a process is carried out in a device like a desert cooler, and in you may be probably familiar with this device, a desert cooler. In this, like now this is onset of summer, and you might find this device being sold in various shops, and it provides you cooling with by evaporating water into air, and there is a pump in the tank provided, water tank provided here, which creates sprays of water, and it wets the media here, and there are channels through which the air passes, and in this process the temperature of air reduces, and such air is delivered for human comfort. Of course, this process has certain limitations also, like it is most suitable for hot and dry climate only. So this point A, when you start this process, should have very low humidity ratio. And only in that case, when you come out at point B, the temperature would be appreciably low, as well as the humidity ratio will not be very high. This process is also suitable for if you want to provide air conditioning in buildings, then buildings with high infiltration rates, right? That is the outside air, the building is not tightly built. The outside air is coming freely into the building. In that case, you cannot afford to have a mechanical compression based cooling system. And when the areas are large, for example, in workshops, it's generally not affordable to go for mechanical compression based cooling system. And in that case, one might prefer to have an evaporative cooling system. So basically in this process, the temperature of the air is reduced by evaporating water into it. And this obviously increases the humidity in the supply air. So only if at point B the humidity is not very high, it can provide comfort conditions. And the process will lose its effectiveness with higher inlet humidity. So if point A already has high humidity ratio, then the length of the line AX cannot be very long. Length of the line AX cannot be very long, right? So if A shifts here, then you are shifting near to the 100% saturation line. So in that case, the potential to reduce the temperature is less. So due to this, the process loses its effectiveness, and again, the the humidity ratio at which you come out at the outlet of such a device will also be high. So it may not provide you, or it may not offer you comfortable conditions. So these are the limitations of adiabatic humidification. And here I'm showing you a, a chart where climatic zones of India are shown. So as you can see, this red color indicates hot and dry climatic zones in India. So such a device, evaporative cooling, could be useful for providing air conditioning in particularly in these regions where the air is dry as well as hot. And you will also agree that these are the regions where desert coolers are probably used maximum. Right? So the northwestern part of India, some central parts of India, and also northwest part of India are the places where desert coolers or evaporative cooling devices providing evaporative cooling are popular. And because this device is the cost is also less, there is a large like consumer base of such devices. Obviously, it will not be useful in the many other type of climates, particularly see northwestern India or northeast India or the coastal regions of India. It will not provide you good comfort conditions, as well as the device itself will not be very effective. So this is about the application of this cooler, and here the balance equation, the moisture balance equation, and the enthalpy balance equation or energy balance equation is also provided. So this is the moisture balance equation, and here what you read is mass flow rate of dry air into W1, the humidity ratio at point 1 or A, is equal to plus mass flow rate of water is equal to mass flow rate of dry air into W2. So this is your system. This duct kind of system is shown. This is entry point 1. This is exit point 2 for B. And you are adding some water which is evaporating into air. Now what you are adding is liquid water only, right? You should keep this in very clear in your mind. Now there is some water vapor carried with stream A, you are adding some more water into it, and finally you have the water vapor quantity at point B or point 2. So this is the moisture balance equation, and each term will be in kg kilogram of water per second. Another balance equation can be written, and that is related to enthalpy. So this, the enthalpy at point 2 or point B into m dot dA, that is mass flow rate of dry air. Now mass flow rate of dry air remains same throughout the length of the system. It's not changing. What is changing is only the vapor content. So you will find m dot dA H2 and m dot dA H1, and m dot dA is same. Now when you measure the enthalpy at point 2, it is made up of enthalpy at point 1 or A, plus you are also adding some mass in form of water. So that enthalpy also gets added, which is shown here. Now mind well, this is m dot W into HWL. Now why I have written L is that this HWL is liquid enthalpy. HWL is liquid enthalpy. So this liquid enthalpy is the not the vapor enthalpy, right? And so it's not very high. Now why is it not vapor enthalpy? As you can see, what is entering into the system is only liquid water. Now you might say that it is evaporating, but then while it evaporates, it takes heat from air. It takes heat from air. So the air gets sensibly cooled, but water liquid converts into vapor. So what you are actually adding is only the enthalpy of liquid water which is coming. Other things are internal conversion. So what you find is that in this process, which is constant wet bulb temperature process, there isn't very significant increase of enthalpy because this second term is quite small. The mass flow rate of water, or the water addition rate, is quite low, and in addition to that, the enthalpy of liquid water is also not very high. So these are the balance equations which might be used to find some unknown parameter when you have a problem in front of you. So let us take now one numerical and understand the performance parameters of such systems. So you can read the data for the example here. Air enters a desert cooler at 37 degrees Celsius dry bulb temperature and 23% RH. If effectiveness of the cooler is 80%, what will be the outlet temperature of air? What is the sensible cooling rate if air flow rate is 1000 CFM? How much is the water consumption rate? So let's say the atmospheric condition or ambient condition is 37 degrees Celsius dry bulb temperature and 23% RH. So this is quite hot or warm condition, and humidity is also not very high. And say you buy a desert cooler which is claiming that the effectiveness would be 80%. So what outlet temperature of air can you expect out of this device, out of this desert cooler? This figure shows the internal details of desert cooler. The outside air is coming, and then there is a water tank, and there is a pump, probably submersible pump, which create water sprays and wets the cooling pad, and there are channels of air through which the air is passing. There is a fan which is drawing the air. Air comes in intimate contact with water film. Some water evaporates, which reduces the temperature of air, and the cool air is delivered. So in such a system, you are interested to know what is the outlet condition or outlet temperature of this air, whether it is at a low enough temperature to provide any comfort or cooling to the person or to the room. That is one question. Second is, what is the rate at which the cooling is provided, right? The capacity of the system. So normally the desert cooler manufacturers don't provide this cooling rate. They only provide the capacity of the tank, or how much area can be cooled by this desert cooler, or what is the capacity of the fan. But ideally, this sensible cooling rate should also be provided under certain assumptions. So we will find the sensible cooling rate also if the fan flow rate is 1000 CFM. Now CFM is cubic feet per minute. So it's a pound inch system, and we will also convert that into SI, that is in meter cube per second, and I'll provide you the conversion also. And how much is the water consumption rate, because the water is being consumed. So this device consumes electricity, probably less electricity, but also consumes water, and water is not a free commodity now. So you are also interested to know what is the water consumption rate. So what will be the steps whilst when you want to solve this problem? First thing that will be done is find humidity ratio at point 1, the entry condition. Dry bulb temperature and RH are available, but humidity ratio can be found. Once you do that, even before that, you can find the wet bulb temperature using psychrometric chart, or you can use a formula. Now, psychrometric chart has certain limitations because the resolution is limited, and many things depend upon your judgment. So you might want to use formula also, but then in this particular case, when you want to get the wet bulb temperature, the process can be iterative, and you will have to use the psychrometric tables. Find the outlet temperature using effectiveness provided, right? So that's the outlet temperature, and only if you get the outlet temperature, you can get the sensible cooling rate. Then find the humidity ratio at outlet using formula and tables. So you're interested in the humidity ratio at 2 or B also, and then mass flow rate of dry air is to be found. Only then you can get, and CP, specific heat, only then you can get the sensible cooling rate. And then once you get the humidity ratio at inlet condition and outlet condition, you can get the water consumption rate. So this is the sequence in which we'll be solving this example. So I have done or solved this example with the help of a program, and I'll also explain you the process how you can solve it. So this is the evaporative cooling example. Here the dry bulb temperature given is 37 degrees Celsius. The humidity rate, sorry, the relative humidity given is 23%. Now you want to get the humidity ratio at this condition, A or 1, the entry condition. Okay. So how can you get the humidity ratio? You can get it with this formula. W is equal to 0.621945 PW, that is water vapor pressure, P minus PW. Here P is the total pressure, and if not specified, you will take it 101.325 kilopascal. So with this formula, I can get the value of W. Now, how do you get PW? PW is nothing but the saturation pressure at the given temperature, that is at 37 degrees Celsius. What is the saturation pressure of water? That multiplied by 23% or 0.23 would give you PW. Okay. So the saturation pressure, as you will be able to get it from the saturation properties of water. So it's around 6.2818. So you can get it from here, from this table. And then 23% of that is the actual water vapor pressure. So saturation pressure, this value may be slightly different from what you get from the table, because the program uses some a bit different algorithm. And PW1 is around 1445 Pascal. So it's 1.445 kilopascal. So you can, these values are to be put in kilopascal. So you can put it in kilopascal, and you get the value of W. So you will get it around 9 grams of water per kilogram of dry air. This is in kg of water per kilogram of dry air. Right. So let's see the things on the psychrometric chart also. So point 1 can be located here, right? So it is 37, as you can see here, it's 37 degree Celsius dry bulb temperature, 37 degrees Celsius dry bulb temperature, and 23% RH. But RH, because the lines are at 10% interval, may be difficult to judge. So after finding W, you can draw this line for 9 grams, because W is 9 grams of water, And at the intersection of 37 degrees Celsius in 9 grams, you can put 0.1, which is the inlet condition to the evaporative cooler. Now, when you are going for evaporative cooling or adiabatic humidification, the process moves along a constant wet bulb temperature line. Right. So where it intersects this 100% RH line, you can drop a line, vertical line from that, and you can get the wet bulb temperature. So it is clear that it is somewhere between 20 and 21, right? It is clear that it is somewhere between 20 and 21, right? So that is where you can expect the wet bulb temperature to be. Okay. So you can like roughly write the answer to this also. You may feel that it's around 20.7 or something, right? So even that can be written down as the wet bulb temperature. Or with the help of formula and table, how you can solve it is shown here. So you can use this formula, this W. Now in this formula, what is T star? It is the wet bulb temperature. What is WS star? It is the saturation humidity ratio at wet bulb temperature. And what is T? It is the dry bulb temperature. Now we are talking about point 1. It is T, dry bulb temperature 37. It's wet bulb temperature, which is the property at the given state. It is equal, it is yet to be found, and WS star will also depend upon that. So what you might do is you check it for 20 degrees Celsius and degrees Celsius using the psychrometric tables. So if you check it at 21, this is from this one, like you have to refer the psychrometric tables. So this is 21. So at 21, WS is 0.015724. At 20, it is 0.014761. You can try both, and for whichever one W value that you get is closer to 0.009, you can take that temperature. Okay. Or whether it will be 20.5 or it will be 21 or 20, right? So what you may do is you can take it 20.5 and take the average of these two WS, and then if you find that your W is quite close to 0.009, then you can accept 20.5, okay, as your wet bulb temperature. So that is what is actually happening. So if you put the 20.5 here and the average value of WS at 20 and 21, then it is 0.015243. And when you put that in this formula, you see that W is 0.00886, which is quite close to 0.009. So your wet bulb temperature is quite close to 20.5. So with the help of formula, you can also get an estimate of the wet bulb temperature. Now, what will be the outlet temperature of air? So that will depend upon effectiveness, which is 80%. So effectiveness is like, this is the formula that you will use. So let's go to the next slide here. And so this is the formula for effectiveness. The actual temperature change, T1 minus T2, and T1, that is entry temperature, minus wet bulb temperature, that is nothing but effectiveness. The ideal change is in the denominator. That is, the air should enter at T1 and should reach the wet bulb temperature. That is the ideal change. But actual change, T1 minus T2, would be smaller than that. And as provided, effectiveness is 80%, 0.8. So you put this 0.8, and you already know wet bulb and dry bulb temperature, T1 and T star. So you will get the dry bulb temperature at the outlet at point B or at point 2. So with the help of that, this formula, you get the temperature at the outlet, which is coming out to be 23.8 degrees Celsius. So at point 2 or at the outlet of this evaporative cooler, you can expect that the air temperature reduces from 37 to 23.8. So it's a good amount of temperature drop. Now, finding the humidity ratio at outlet condition. Now you want to get what is given is volume flow rate. It is to be converted into mass flow rate, and for that you need humidity ratio also. So humidity ratio at 0.2 or the outlet condition is to be found. Again you use this formula, but now good thing is that you already know the dry bulb temperature as well as wet bulb temperature, and you will also be able to get the value of Ws. So what is the wet bulb temperature? It is 20.5 because it is remaining same whether you talk about point A or B or you talk about point 1 and 2. The wet bulb temperature is remaining same. So same value of Ws star and T star, but at point 2 or point B, T is equal to 23.8. So you put that value here, and with the help of that you get the humidity ratio at the outlet of the evaporative cooling process, right? So it's 0.01432, right, or 14 grams of water per kg of dry air. So that's the humidity ratio at the outlet. So with the help of this, now you can get the value of Cp, that is the specific heat. Now Cp may be written or may be found like this, as it is written here, that Cp of moist air is equal to Cp of dry air plus humidity ratio multiplied by Cp of water vapor. So that's what is done here. So Cp of dry air at 30 degrees Celsius. Now why I have taken 30 degrees Celsius? It is a temperature somewhere between 37, the entry temperature, and the exit temperature 23.8. So roughly at 30, the average temperature, it is found. Water vapor Cp at 30 degrees Celsius 1.893. Now you will be given these values, okay, and with the help of that, with this formula you can get the Cp of moist air, or you may be directly given the Cp of moist air. Okay. So Cp of moist air is Cp of dry air at 30 degrees Celsius, then W into Cp of water vapor. Now how much is the humidity ratio? It is also changing. It's actually changing from 9 to 14.3. So again I have taken some intermediate value around 11.5, and using that I have found the humidity ratio of the moist air. So sorry, the specific heat of moist air. So it's 1.025, and now Cp is available. Now mass flow rate is to be found. So mass flow rate of dry air is to be found. What is given is the volume flow rate, which is 1000 CFM, and 1000 CFM is nothing but 0.472 meter cube per second. So that's the volume flow rate. Now you want to get the mass flow rate. So you need to divide this volume flow rate with specific volume with this formula. Specific volume is to be found with this formula. Here T is the dry bulb temperature, W is the humidity ratio, P is the total pressure, which may be taken as 101.325. So you get the specific volume with this formula. Now I have found the specific volume at the exit condition, assuming that the fan is after the cooler or after the cooling, after the contact media, right? So at the outlet. So it's found at the outlet condition, and I found the specific volume equal to 0.861 meter cube per second. You can confirm these things from the chart also, right? 0.861. So at 0.2 it should be close to 0.861, right? Here you have the 0.86, right? And here it is 0.87, so it's quite close to 86. So here you got it 0.861. So that confirms that what we have found is also correct. Now mass flow rate of dry air is equal to volume flow rate divided by specific volume. So the mass flow rate is 0.548 kg per second. Now you can get the sensible cooling rate, which is mCp delta T, mass flow rate of dry air into Cp of moist air into the temperature difference, which is 37 to 23.8, right? So you put those values and you get it around 7.417 kilowatt. That's the sensible cooling rate as it passes through the evaporative cooler. Okay. Now, if you find enthalpies, what you will find is that there is not much change in enthalpy, right? So actually, by adding moisture, you are providing sensible cooling. There is no total cooling, right? And what is the water consumption rate? It is equal to mass flow rate of dry air into change in W. At outlet, what is the W? At inlet, what is the W? The difference between that and multiplied by the mass flow rate. So it gives you 0.00299 kg per second, or roughly 0.003, or you can say 3 grams per second. So that seems to be a small number, but you convert it into kilogram per hour, and you find that around 10.7 or 10.8 kilogram or liters of water is consumed per hour. So you need to add that much water into this tank every hour, right? That much water is consumed. So in this tank, you need to add that much water to compensate for the water which is going out. So with the help of this example, you could find the sensible cooling rate. Now, if you know the power consumption of the fan and pump, you can divide this sensible cooling rate with power consumption, and that can provide you energy efficiency ratio. That is how effectively are you utilizing electrical power for producing cooling, and that can be an important criteria even for choosing an evaporative cooler or desert cooler. As we become more and more conscious about the energy consumption, we focus upon this type of performance parameters, right? So that is about the sensible cooling rate, and you also know the rate at which you are losing the water. In for a large system, it may be an important thing to consider, because the availability of water may be limited. So even that parameter was found, and we also know what is the temperature at which the air can be delivered, the humidity ratio and temperature. So you can also decide whether that is good enough for providing comfort to the people in the room or not. So this lecture, I believe, would have given you a good understanding and insight into evaporative cooling process.